111 Disgusting American Food Inventions That Should Never Have Existed. Welcome back, legends. Before we dive into this glorious chaos, do yourself a favor right now, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. Because if you enjoy watching history's greatest food crimes get exposed one by one, you are going to want to be here for everything we drop next. This channel is built for people who think deeply, laugh loudly, and are never afraid of the truth. Now, let's talk about America's most catastrophic kitchen moments. The donut burger. Somewhere in America, someone woke up and decided that a beef patty soaked in grease didn't already have enough problems, so they replaced the bun with 2 glazed donuts. Let that sink in. Sweet, sticky, sugar-coated donuts holding together a slab of salted meat, melted cheese, and ketchup. The result is a sugar crash colliding head-on with a salt bomb. Your pancreas doesn't know whether to weep or resign. This invention didn't just cross a line, it obliterated it, set it on fire, and danced on the ashes. And somehow, food festivals across the country still serve it proudly every summer. The people who eat it smile for the photo. Then they sit down quietly and reconsider their choices. Candy corn. Candy corn has been haunting Halloween since 1880. Over a century of suffering. It tastes like sweetened wax that someone left in a hot car, rolled in sugar, and shaped into a tiny traffic cone. Nobody genuinely loves candy corn. Studies have shown it ranks among the least favorite Halloween treats every single year, yet it keeps coming back like a villain in a horror film. The texture is somehow both grainy and sticky. The flavor is an identity crisis. Is it vanilla, honey, regret, all three simultaneously? Whoever invented this believed that color alone could make something taste good. They were spectacularly wrong. And yet, millions of pounds are produced annually. America eats them. America hates them. The cycle never ends. Deep fried butter. You read that correctly. Not butter used to fry something. Not butter melted over something. Butter itself. Deep fried. A stick of butter, battered, submerged in boiling oil, and served on a stick at state fairs across the nation. When you bite in, the melted butter floods your mouth in a wave that your arteries immediately begin negotiating with. This dish was invented at the Texas State Fair in 2009 and somehow won an award. An award. The human body has roughly 100,000 miles of blood vessels, and deep-fried butter is determined to challenge every single one of them. There are bold food choices. Then there is this. This is not bold. This is a confession. Turducken. A chicken stuffed inside a duck stuffed inside a turkey. 3 birds. 1 philosophical crisis. The turducken is the culinary equivalent of a Russian nesting doll, except instead of joy, you feel a deep existential concern about where the flavor begins and where it surrenders. The concept sounds creative until you realize no single bird gets to be itself. The chicken loses its identity. The duck loses its dignity. The turkey, already the most ceremonially sacrificed bird in America, is now bearing the weight of 2 entire other species. Cooking it evenly is nearly impossible. Eating it is confusing. Explaining it to a foreign friend is humbling. And yet, it remains a Thanksgiving tradition in certain households. God bless America. Flamin' hot everything. There is a spice level called bold. There is a spice level called adventurous. And then there is flamin' hot, a flavor profile that bypasses your taste buds entirely and communicates directly with your survival instincts. Flamin' Hot Cheetos were introduced in 1991 and somehow became a cultural phenomenon. Then came Flamin' Hot Doritos, Flamin' Hot Popcorn, Flamin' Hot Mountain Dew, Flamin' Hot Mac and Cheese. The obsession expanded until hot stopped being a flavor and became an ideology. Children eat these by the bagful and develop a tolerance that medical professionals genuinely find alarming. There have been documented cases of children being sent to the emergency room. Yet the product line grows. The packaging gets redder. America keeps reaching into the bag. The KFC famous bowl. Picture this: mashed potatoes, corn, fried chicken chunks, gravy, and shredded cheese, all layered in a single bowl, mixed together into one unified beige mass. Anthony Bourdain famously called it a triumph of everything wrong with American food culture. It tastes fine. It might even taste good in a shameful 2 a.m., nobody can see me kind of way. But aesthetically, spiritually, it represents a culture that has given up on presentation entirely. Every ingredient is good on its own. Together, they form something that looks like it lost a fight with itself. The famous bowl is not a meal. It is a mood, a very specific, very defeated mood, and millions of Americans order it every single week. Spray cheese. Cheese is one of humanity's greatest achievements. Aged in caves, crafted with patience and love across thousands of years of culinary tradition. Then America looked at all of that history and said, can we put it in a can and spray it directly into our mouths? Yes, we can. And we did. Easy cheese, introduced in 1965, is technically classified as pasteurized cheese food product, which means it has to legally admit that it is not actually cheese. It sprays in a ribbon. It does not require refrigeration. It can survive a nuclear winter. The fact that it is eaten at Super Bowl parties alongside actual gourmet dips says everything you need to know about the American relationship with authenticity. Kool-Aid pickles, Koolicles. In the Mississippi Delta, someone looked at a jar of dill pickles and thought, what if these were also neon red and tasted like Kool-Aid? And then they did it. They soaked the pickles in cherry or tropical punch Kool-Aid, turning them a violent shade of crimson, infusing them with a sweet-sour chaos that defies categorization. The result is a flavor that is simultaneously familiar and deeply wrong. Children love them. Adults are confused by them. Food critics are fascinated by them in the way scientists are fascinated by anomalies they cannot explain. The Koolicle is not offensive so much as it is philosophically troubling. It asks what food is, it asks who gets to decide, and then it soaks another jar overnight. The Cronut. The Cronut arrived in 2013 from a New York bakery and caused pandemonium. Lines formed before dawn. People scalped them for $30 each. It was the food equivalent of a celebrity sighting. A croissant crossed with a donut. Flaky, fried, glazed, layered. It sounds magnificent, and in fairness, it probably tasted good. But the cultural hysteria around it revealed something unsettling about how America approaches food. We turned a pastry into an event. We assigned it status. We made it something you had to earn. Children went without because adults were hoarding hybrid baked goods. The Cronut is less a food crime and more a mirror, showing us exactly how far we will go for the next new thing, even when the old things were perfectly wonderful already. Frito pie. Take a bag of Fritos corn chips. Open it lengthwise. Pour chili directly into the bag. Add cheese. Add jalapenos. Eat it out of the bag with a plastic fork while standing at a football stadium concession stand. That is Frito pie. It is beloved in Texas and New Mexico with a devotion that borders on religious. And truthfully, it probably works. The bag acts as a bowl. The chips soften perfectly in the chili. The whole thing is warm and filling and costs $4. But there is something almost defiant about it, a deliberate refusal of plates. Of dignity. Of any pretense that food needs to be anything other than fuel consumed as efficiently as possible. Frito pie is peak pragmatism. It is also chaotic. And somehow, that makes it perfect. Cotton candy grapes. Science has given us many gifts. Penicillin, space travel, the internet, and somehow, also, grapes that taste exactly like cotton candy. These are real grapes, not artificially flavored, not candy-coated. They were crossbred over years of agricultural work to taste like spun sugar. They succeeded completely. And the question nobody wants to answer is, why? Grapes are wonderful. They are sweet and tart and refreshing. They have been beloved since antiquity. Ancient civilizations built empires on vineyards. And the 21st century looked at all of that legacy and said, what if the grapes tasted like the thing you eat at the circus? They are not dangerous. They are not even that bad, they are just unnecessary. A triumph of engineering applied to a completely unasked question. The Luther burger, named after the late Luther Vandross, though he never claimed it. The Luther burger replaces the bun with 2 glazed donuts, just like the donut burger, but adds bacon, making it an entirely separate philosophical problem. Sweet, salty, fatty, smoky. Every major flavor category fighting for dominance simultaneously. It reportedly originated in Atlanta in the early 2000s and gained national attention after being featured on a television show. The combination is aggressively American in the best and worst possible way. Excess is expression, sugar is seasoning, more is a default setting. It should not exist. It definitely exists. People order it with large sodas and extra napkins and feel, for one brief moment, completely free. Jell-O salad. The 1950s were a strange time. Post-war optimism, suburban expansion, and a deep, inexplicable belief that Jell-O could be made into a meal. Jell-O salads at their peak contained vegetables, shredded carrots, celery, olives, suspended in lime or lemon gelatin and served at dinner tables across America as though this were a completely normal thing to do. Sometimes they contained mayonnaise. Sometimes they contained cream cheese and nuts. Sometimes they were shaped in elaborate molds and presented like sculpture. They wobbled. They gleamed. They combined textures that should never share the same universe. The Jell-O salad era has mostly passed, but church potlucks and Midwestern family reunions keep the tradition alive like a culinary heirloom nobody actually wants but everyone is afraid to discard. Pop Rocks candy. The premise: candy that explodes in your mouth. The execution: tiny granules of sugar infused with carbon dioxide that fizz and crackle on your tongue like mild electrical interference. Children love them. Adults find them mildly alarming. The urban legend that eating Pop Rocks with soda will cause your stomach to explode has been thoroughly debunked, yet it persists because the idea of exploding candy is inherently threatening. Pop Rocks are not disgusting. They are simply strange, an invention born from the question nobody asked, which is, what if eating candy felt like a mild emergency? They have survived decades because novelty is its own form of nutrition in America. If it surprises you, it succeeds. If it briefly makes you question your safety, even better. Chicken and waffles. To the uninitiated, chicken and waffles sounds like two menus accidentally colliding. Fried chicken, savory, peppery, golden. Waffles, sweet, buttery, syrup-soaked. Together on one plate, the combination is actually ancient, tracing back to soul food traditions with deep historical and cultural roots. And it works beautifully. It genuinely does. The sweet and salty contrast is brilliant. But it belongs on this list because every person who encounters it for the first time experiences a moment of genuine confusion that borders on alarm. The mind resists. The palate eventually surrenders. Then the surrender becomes obsession. Chicken and waffles is not a disgusting invention, it is an acquired understanding. A food that makes you feel foolish for doubting it, right before it makes you feel brilliant for trusting it. The garbage plate. Rochester, New York, invented this. 2 scoops of macaroni salad. Home fries or baked beans. 2 hot dogs, hamburgers, or any combination of proteins. Topped with meat sauce, mustard, and onions. All of it mixed together into one unified, fragrant, deeply personal plate of food. The garbage plate has been a Rochester institution since 1918. It is served after midnight. It is beloved by university students. It smells like comfort and questionable decisions. The name is both honest and aspirational. It knows exactly what it is and has no apologies. The garbage plate is the most self-aware food on this list. It looked at the concept of presentation and chose, deliberately and with full knowledge, to walk the other direction. Ambrosia salad. Ambrosia means food of the gods in Greek. The American ambrosia salad contains canned mandarin oranges, crushed pineapple, mini marshmallows, maraschino cherries, shredded coconut, and whipped cream. These ingredients are stirred together and refrigerated overnight until the marshmallows become slightly soggy and the whole thing achieves a texture somewhere between dessert and soft regret. It appears at Thanksgiving. It appears at Easter. It appears at potlucks no one asked about. It is technically a salad, in the same way that a swimming pool is technically a puddle. The gods of Olympus, for whom ambrosia was named, would be very confused. And probably a little offended. Deep-fried Coca-Cola. This invention, also from the Texas State Fair, involves Coca-Cola flavored batter deep-fried into balls, drizzled with Coca-Cola syrup, whipped cream, and cinnamon sugar. It won the Most Creative award at the fair in 2006. Most creative. As though the primary barrier in American cuisine was imagination, and this was the breakthrough. Deep-fried Coca-Cola is a monument to a very specific kind of ingenuity, the kind that asks not whether something should be done, but whether it physically can be done. It can, it was, it continues to be somewhere right now. Someone is eating deep-fried soda and feeling, against all reason, that they have done something remarkable. The McRib. The McRib is a restructured pork patty molded into the shape of a rack of ribs, bones not included, smothered in barbecue sauce, pickles, and onions on a hoagie roll. It contains no actual rib meat. It is shaped to imply ribs while containing nothing of the kind. And yet the McRib's periodic disappearance and return from the McDonald's menu has inspired genuine grief, celebration, tracking websites, and fan communities. People have mapped its regional availability like astronomers tracking a comet. The McRib is not just a sandwich. It is a social phenomenon. A fake rib that generates more emotional investment than most real meals. America's relationship with the McRib says more about desire, absence, and nostalgia than most novels ever will. Peanut butter and pickle sandwiches. Yes, this is a real thing that real people eat voluntarily. Peanut butter, creamy or crunchy, spread on bread and layered with dill pickle slices. The sourness of the pickle cuts through the richness of the peanut butter in a way that, reportedly, actually works. Food scientists will tell you the flavor profiles complement each other. Nutritionists will acknowledge both ingredients have merit. But the person encountering this combination for the first time has none of that context. They have only the visual, the smell, the bewildering commitment of whoever made it. The peanut butter and pickle sandwich is not an accident. It is a choice made daily by thousands of Americans who have no time for your skepticism and would like you to please simply try it. Loaded potato skins. Potato skins are the part of the potato that most cultures discard or eat quietly without ceremony. America looked at the discarded shell of a baked potato, filled it with cheddar cheese, sour cream, bacon bits, and chives, and turned it into an appetizer that has anchored bar menus for 40 years. This is genuinely fine. Potato skins are good, but their elevation to beloved classic, while the actual potato, the humble, nutritious, magnificent potato, sits ignored and unsung as a quiet injustice. The skin became the star. The potato became the supporting character in its own story. This is very American. Celebrate the shell, add cheese, serve with ranch dressing. Call it an appetizer. Move on without asking too many questions. The entirety of gas station sushi. Gas stations in America sell sushi. Not everywhere, not always. But enough that it is worth addressing directly and firmly. Gas station sushi sits in a plastic tray under fluorescent lighting, in a refrigerator next to energy drinks and motor oil. The rice has hardened slightly at the edges. The fish has a quality that resists description. The wasabi comes in a small plastic packet. Someone, somewhere, is eating this right now because they are on a highway and craving something that is technically sushi adjacent. The ambition is admirable. The execution raises questions that should be directed immediately to a gastroenterologist. Gas station sushi is the culinary equivalent of optimism unchecked by any practical concern. Chocolate-covered bacon. Bacon achieved peak cultural obsession sometime around 2010, when it appeared on everything: cupcakes, ice cream, vodka, lip balm. The crown jewel of this era was chocolate-covered bacon, strips of crispy, smoked, salty bacon enrobed in milk or dark chocolate. Again, food scientists will tell you sweet and salty works. They are correct. It does work, but there is something about looking at a strip of chocolate-covered bacon that forces an internal reckoning. You enjoy it. You feel something shift slightly in your understanding of yourself. You do not tell anyone. You reach for another piece. You decide this is between you and whatever higher power governs such moments. You finish the bag disappears. You never speak of it. Velveeta. Velveeta is to cheese what a wax museum is to a person, a careful approximation that captures the general shape of the thing without achieving its soul. Introduced in 1918, Velveeta is classified as a processed cheese product. It melts perfectly. It never separates. It has a shelf life that suggests it may outlive us all. It is the foundation of queso dip at every Super Bowl party in America, and in that role, it is genuinely beloved and genuinely effective. But call it cheese in front of a Wisconsin dairy farmer and watch what happens to their face. Velveeta is not cheese. Velveeta is a promise made by chemistry. And America, for over a century, has been keeping that promise at every party, every stadium, every gathering where real cheese felt like too much effort. The waffle taco. Taco Bell launched the waffle taco in 2014 as part of their breakfast menu. A waffle, folded in the shape of a taco shell, filled with scrambled eggs, cheese, and either sausage or bacon. It was a breakfast item. It was architecturally a taco. It was structurally a waffle. It was philosophically a question. Taco Bell eventually discontinued it, but not before it existed long enough to make everyone confront what the word taco actually means and whether shape alone constitutes identity. The waffle taco was not a disaster. It was an experiment in category. An attempt to answer whether removing all distinction between two things destroys both or creates something new. The answer, ultimately, was neither. It was just a soggy waffle. But the question was worth asking. Cheese Whiz. Where spray cheese is at least honest about being in a can, Cheese Whiz arrives in a jar and presents itself with a certain quiet confidence. It is thick. It is orange. It has a texture like paste that has been convinced it is a condiment. It is, however, the official and authentic topping for a Philadelphia cheesesteak, and on that one specific application, it is correct and irreplaceable. Cheese Whiz on a cheesesteak is tradition. Cheese Whiz on crackers at 2 a.m. is survival. Cheese Whiz eaten directly from the jar with a spoon is a private conversation between you and the choices that led you here. All three are valid. All three are American. All three deserve to be witnessed without judgment. The spaghetti taco. Spaghetti tacos were invented by a fictional child on the television show iCarly and then immediately became real because American children watched the show, demanded the meal, and parents, out of love, exhaustion, or some combination, made it. A taco shell filled with spaghetti and marinara sauce. Italian cuisine inside a Mexican-American vessel. It is chaotic. It is structurally unsound. The spaghetti falls out immediately. The shell softens in seconds. And yet children across America ate it with genuine enthusiasm because a television character invented it, and the imagination of a child is, apparently, the most powerful force in the food industry. The spaghetti taco belongs on this list. It also belongs in history. Both things are true simultaneously. Ranch dressing on everything. Ranch dressing was invented in the 1950s on a ranch in California, hence the name, and was meant as a salad dressing. America looked at that original purpose and laughed. Ranch now appears on pizza, on wings, on burgers, on fries, on vegetables, which is admittedly its most legitimate use. On chips. Ranch-flavored chips, then ranch-flavored everything. There are people who dip their ranch-flavored chips into additional ranch dressing. There are restaurants that serve ranch as a beverage. This is not hyperbole. America's relationship with ranch dressing has exceeded seasoning and entered the territory of identity. To refuse ranch is to declare something about yourself. To accept it is to belong. No other condiment in history has carried this much social weight. The croissant dog. This is a hot dog wrapped in croissant dough, baked until golden, and served as though the croissant has been waiting its whole life for this opportunity. It exists at IKEA, at ballparks, at suburban grocery stores. It is not a new idea. Pigs in blankets have existed for decades. But something about calling it a croissant dog elevates the ambition beyond its execution. The croissant dough, which in France is a masterpiece of lamination and patience, here becomes a vehicle for a processed meat tube. The result is fine. Perfectly fine, unobjectionable, and that is somehow the most disappointing possible outcome. This combination had the tools to be extraordinary and chose instead to be a snack. America is full of choices like this. Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Regular Mountain Dew is already an achievement in artificial color. Neon yellow-green, capable of being spotted from a considerable distance. Baja Blast, introduced as a Taco Bell exclusive in 2004, is turquoise. Not a gentle teal, not a soft aquamarine, aggressively, defiantly turquoise, the color of a swimming pool that has made choices. The flavor is described as tropical lime, and tastes like a carbonated concept rather than an actual fruit. It has a dedicated cult following. People make pilgrimages to Taco Bell specifically for it. When it was released in bottles for home purchase, there were lines. For turquoise soda, America has always celebrated boldness. Baja Blast is bold in only one dimension, but it has committed to that dimension completely. The bloomin' onion, an entire onion, cut to bloom like a flower, battered and deep fried, served with a dipping sauce at Outback Steakhouse. It is the size of a small planet. It contains approximately 1,950 calories, nearly an entire day's recommended intake, before you've touched anything else on the table. It arrives first, before any other food, while you are at your hungriest and therefore your most vulnerable. It is designed to be irresistible and it succeeds. By the time your actual meal arrives, you have already compromised your position. The bloomin' onion is a trap disguised as a flower. A caloric ambush wrapped in Australian branding. And it has been the most ordered appetizer in America for decades. Because the trap is beautiful, and the dipping sauce is very good. The cherpumple. The cherpumple is 3 pies baked inside 3 cakes stacked on top of each other. Cherry pie inside white cake. Pumpkin pie inside spice cake. Apple pie inside yellow cake. Then stacked. Then frosted. The name is a portmanteau of cherry, pumpkin, and apple. It was invented in 2009 and caused significant distress. This is not a dessert. This is a philosophical stance. It argues that more is not just acceptable but morally correct. It argues that boundaries between dishes are artificial constraints imposed by people who lacked ambition. The cherpumple is what happens when someone looks at Thanksgiving dessert and decides that choice is the enemy and abundance is the only answer. It is also very, very difficult to cut. The knife goes in, nothing makes sense after that. Pumpkin spice everything. Pumpkin spice began as a coffee flavoring and became a cultural event. Every September, America collectively agrees that everything, lattes, cereals, candles, dog treats, yogurt, hummus, Spam, should taste like cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, and the memory of a sweater. The flavor has almost nothing to do with actual pumpkin. It is a spice blend associated with pumpkin pie, which is itself a fairly mild gourd-given and aggressive seasoning. But the season arrives and the nation transforms. Starbucks announces the pumpkin spice latte return and the internet responds as though a long-exiled monarch has returned to the throne. Pumpkin spice is not a food crime. It is a cultural one. A reminder that America does not eat flavors, it eats feelings. And fall feels like this. The entire state fair. This list could not end without acknowledging that the American State Fair is, collectively, the greatest food laboratory and the most spectacular food crime scene in the world. Deep fried Oreos. Deep fried ice cream. Deep fried avocado. Fried Kool-Aid. Fried bubblegum. A pickle on a stick. A corn dog also on a stick. Chocolate-dipped cheesecake on a stick. Everything is on a stick. The stick is the one constant. The rest is chaos. Glorious, unapologetic, carnival-lit chaos. The state fair does not care about your nutrition goals. It does not care about your cardiologist's advice. It does not care that what you are holding is technically food only in the most generous interpretation of the word. The state fair cares only that you are here, that you are hungry, and that everything is better on a stick. And finally, a word about all of it: America's food culture is not delicate. It is not subtle. It does not apologize. It invents things without asking for permission, serves them without shame, and watches the world react with either horror or hunger or both simultaneously. These 111 inventions are not all failures. Some of them are beloved. Some of them are traditions. Some of them, eaten at the right moment in the right company, are actually magnificent. What they share is audacity. The particular American audacity that says, "I wonder what happens if I do this." And then does it, and then wraps it in cheese. Food is not just nourishment. It is culture. It is history. It is emotion on a plate. And America, for all its excesses, has never stopped experimenting, never stopped reaching into the deep fryer of possibility and pulling out something that makes the world stop and stare. That is worth something, even when the something is deep fried butter. If this made you laugh, cringe, or suddenly crave a donut burger at midnight, you already know what to do. Subscribe to this channel right now, hit the bell so you never miss a single episode. We are just getting started, and where we are going next will absolutely blow your mind. See you there.